Hello and welcome to my channel of called Libertalia Paints. Though on this channel I will not only be doing paints, I will also be sometimes drawing with Copic markers, just sketching, using watercolour as you see here, and also painting. Basically an art channel with a lot of stuff. So this is my first video and I just wanted to kind of show what I use. And so the first thing that I wanted to show was this watercolour palette. It does come with a lid which has little divots in it when you put it together. So, and then you take it, open it, and it have little divots in it so you can mix paint. But it's easily removable, so it's very nice if you just want to have the colour palette. It's from artists. Well, I got it from Hobbycraft because I'm in the UK, but it's from the company called Art Loft. Over here it is £8, but I think over in America it might be like £5 something in your craft stores or Michael's or something. So that's what I use. I don't really use it often, but yeah. I've got these paintbrushes. These aren't the only ones. I've got a whole pot of them. But the paintbrushes that I use are normally quite cheap paintbrushes. I get these paintbrushes from The Works. I don't know where you would get them if you were in America, but it's from this company, and normally I would also get cheap ones like this that comes in packs, and also children's ones that come in children's packs also, because these come in real handy, so you don't have to have expensive ones to actually paint with. Also, this is a brush that I got with a pack of brushes. It also kind of comes with these ones also, but what we're going to talk about, so I'm going to talk about this one. And this one is, a lot of people think it's useless because it's kind of all splitting and it isn't that great, but really you could dip it into paint and make galaxies by dipping it onto the paper or canvas or whatever you're using. But I don't do that. I sometimes do that, but I have made my own custom stamps out of foam. There is I can't remember where it is, but there is a foam shop where you can get foam for quite cheap, just scraps of it. And I have it, you can literally just get them and cut pieces out and stuff like that, which I find that very helpful because I've got like hearts, and then the other ones of these are to make galaxies and that, which is quite fun. If you know what these are, then they're kind of like those spongy things I just showed you. But what I did was I pulled it out and snipped off the two tongs on the top to create this, which this part you can't really use anymore unless if you hold it. But if you get any of your stamps and make a slit in the top, you can stick it inside and it will stay attached while you're painting, which I find that quite helpful and useful. This was the first one that I made, and it just kind of fits. So, which I find really nice to make your own custom stamps and have all the custom ones that you want. A lot of the time where I get my foam from, they normally sometimes give away quite a lot. They just have like a bag of free stuff that you can just take, which is very generous of them. So the next thing I use is paints. And the paints I use, there's these ones. So these are also from The Works. I use these ones, which are from Hobbycraft. There are lots of these, but I don't want to bring them all out. There I've got tubes of these, which are from the works. And I've also got these, but I don't really know where they come from. They were gifted to me by a next door neighbour because he had not used them in his schoolwork. So I also have lots of pencils and pens and a rubber to do my work. This one was quite cheap, and this came from Hobbycraft in a set. I think it was a set of 12, and I used this one. It has a thin end on it, and also a thick end, which is quite nice if you if I was doing sketching or something in pen. I've also got this rubber, which is just a normal rubber, and Sharpies. They're quite useful when you're doing watercolour or outlining something on acrylics after they've been dried. I forgot to mention all my paints are acrylics except like the kids' work one. And I've also got this Touch 5 twin marker, which I got in a set of, I don't really remember how. And this is just a basic pencil from the shops. Like, I bought a pack of, I think it was 100 or something, and I just painted this one. I also have cups of water on my desk, and also a sponge to wipe off, well, a piece of foam to wipe off all the ink, or like the paint, because when dipping it in water, it doesn't really get rid of it. I normally scrape it on, well, put all the ink onto that, and then use a different cup of water to make sure all the ink is definitely off. The canvases I use come from the works also. These are the smaller canvases. I probably can't show you the bigger canvases, but these smaller canvases come in a pack of 6, and they are £2 each for 6 canvases, which I think is quite nice. They're kind of like the size of a postcard, kind of, and it's really nice to practice on and stuff like that. But they are flat. So there are some that have, let's see if I can get it. They have this, which this isn't a flat one, but they come into a pack of 6, pack of 3, and they're lifted off the bottom, so they're raised, which I think are much easier to paint on, because then around the sides you don't get any piling of acrylic paint. There are also bigger ones that are around the size of paper, a normal size of paper. They come in a pack of 3, they come raised and as a flat one, and they're also bigger sizes. All these canvases I got from the works because they're quite cheap over here. Like, those smaller ones are like £2, and then bigger ones around £3. So they're not too bad. So I also have this watercolour palette that was, I do recommend, but not straight away. If you can get the alternative, the cheaper one, then I would recommend that, because this one is much more expensive, and when I first started trying to watercolour, I thought the more expensive stuff is the better stuff. I was wrong. So this is what it is. It's very nice, except the fact that, you may have seen me with a pen lid, the fact that this part here, when I close it, you need to open it with a pen, because there's no way. I've tried multiple times to try and get into it without something, but you kind of need to just dig underneath there and pop it open. Yeah, it is a very good watercolour set, and if you don't mind more expensive stuff, then I would say go for it. think that's all that I have. I also have, this is not my actual, this is also a watercolour paper. If I move this, you'll see all the paint that's on a separate piece of card underneath on my entire desk. And this is the watercolour paper that I use. I don't really remember how much it costs, but I don't know if it's just exclusively here because it said made in the UK up here. I don't really know, but I find it very good watercolour paper. There are also other watercolour paper or mixed media paper, which there's this one which I got from Hobbycraft. I don't remember how much it was, but it was quite much more expensive than that one, I think. And then I've also got this one from Hobbycraft, which is like watercolour postcards, basically. That's what it says on the front, and it's only got a limited amount of paper in it. I've also got 2 cups of water on here, one that I use to get rid of if I'm doing watercolour, I'll use one for watercolour and one for acrylics, or I'll use one for getting rid of all the ink, the acrylic colour off it, and then dipping it into the cleaner one to make sure that there's nothing left. I barely use this part of the watercolour set that I showed you first, because I don't really mix colours, because there's a massive variety of colours already. And I also have white paint markers. I don't exactly know where they are at the moment, because I rarely use them. But I found them. But they are good for highlights and other stuff like that. They do look like they're for the same company. I don't know if they are, but I do recommend Posca pens. They are expensive, but they are extremely good at making it not transparent, making it very opaque. So it's nice to use. And they also keep some tissues around. Also wipe my brushes off of, just because there's still water in them and the sponge doesn't really absorb water. This episode will continue in the next part, considering it's already long enough. See you in part 2.